Dana Stevens Show. Let's go. Check it. Don't forget about love, joy, peace. Let's talk about it with Dana. That's what the world needs. Let's put away the hatred, racism, and greed, and tune into your dial with Dana Stevens. Yo. From Chi-Town to Florida to A-Town, DMP got sick of our people falling down. PD gotta stop the violence in all towns. This is what we call awareness, time to spread around. We got a legendary activist going viral, and me, I'm quarterback and spitting these flows like spirals, like Colin Kaepernick kneeling to God in every show, and late night appealing to God for us to grow. These demonic politicians have really got to go. That's how it started, right here on radio. Don't forget about love, joy, peace. Let's talk about it with Dana.
Well, happy Monday afternoon to all of you out there in the great big world of social media. This is, yes, Brother Dana coming to you from Chicago. Shalom, shalom to all my Hebrew brothers and sisters. And I want to jump straight into the purpose of this video. Many of you have heard me talking about a friend of mine now, one of my best friends, that I have unfortunately met behind bars 21 years ago. And I actually have him on the line. And I want you to hear straight and directly from him. His name is Michael Sanders, and if you see his picture up there, that is him right there. And like I said, I met him through his Rappy, the individual that actually committed the crimes. And Mike happened to be with him the day that he was arrested. But at this point, I want to introduce you to Michael Sanders. So, Mike, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Well, Michael Sanders, go ahead and say hi to my YouTube followers out there.
Hello, everyone. How you doing today? Yeah, I've been incarcerated for close to 21 years now for 2 separate murders that I did not commit. I met Dana when I was in the county jail back in 1999. He's an awesome individual. He pretty much brought me to the Christian faith. I grew so much in the faith over the years. I was the head Bible study leader on a Christian deck in the county jail for probably about 3 years. Yeah, as I stated, I was falsely accused of 2 separate murders. I was arrested. The homicide detectives on Belmont Western physically abused me for over 36 hours until they broke my will and had me sign 2 coerced statements. Since then, I got found guilty based primarily on the statements and received life without parole for 1 case and 60 years for the other case. After being in the prison for 15 years, my co-defendant testified on my behalf at a hearing saying that I had nothing to do with the crime, and the judge still was reluctant to let me go home. So now I'm working on my last appeal in a federal court, hoping and praying that God will bless me with my freedom. It's been a long, hard journey being in prison for crimes you didn't commit. I have sleep deprivation. I barely get any sleep. I maybe sleep 3 or 4 hours out the night because I'm constantly thinking about my loved ones and coming home. My heart desires to be free. And that's about it. You ask me a question.
Yeah. So, Mike, before you got locked up, how many other times were you locked up?
Not that many. I've never been to the penitentiary before in my life before I caught this case. I had a few traffic violations that I really didn't spend no time in jail. I had got house arrest for. One other time I had a minor drug charge, which was 12 bags of marijuana. And I spent I don't know, like a couple of days in jail, and I went home on house arrest. Besides that, I never been incarcerated or anything like that before.
So you haven't lived a long history prior to this last incarceration of crime and violence?
Oh no, I graduated from high school in '91, and I did a couple of years in college at Oakland Community College in Des Plaines. I had various jobs from the age of 14 till I got arrested when I was 25. I was actually working at Old Orchard Shopping Center at Mario Chicosi when I got arrested. No, I don't have a long history, a criminal history, and I never was arrested for anything violent. So
Yep.
it
And
really doesn't fit my character.
absolutely, and I know that, and I just want people to know that as well. I know you had some tragedies happen, in your life. Can you talk about a few of those?
Yeah. Briefly, I had an older brother that passed away when he was 25. I was only like 11 years old. He got hurt at his job some kind of way. He worked at a factory, and it seemed like after he died, a lot of other people in my family that I was very close to had passed away. I believe my grandmother passed not too long after him, and my mother's brother, my Uncle Joe, died several years later. And like I said, it was one after another. And then my biological father died back in like 1990, I don't know, 3, which he didn't raise me. My mother and father separated when I was very young, probably about 5 years old. My mother raised me and my sister by herself for our whole life. And then the last death that pretty much devastated me was my mother. She died in November of '96 of lung cancer.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just pretty much rocked my world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so then, Mike, on that one day, I mean, and those of you that are listening in, if you go to my webpage, you can read his story. It's called 36 Hours, and it's your written testimony of what was done to you after they had arrested you. How did the arrest take place?
Well, I was coming from work. My co-defendant and his girlfriend had picked me up from work. And to make a long story short, the police were looking for me and him because of an ATM picture that I was seen standing in the ATM with him or one of the victims. I hooked up with my co-defendant after the crime had happened, which I had no knowledge of at the time. He told me he recovered an ATM card from someone that he had robbed, and so we were just hanging out. So anyway, the police officer arrested us based on the ATM picture when we went to pick up his daughter. And they didn't have a warrant for my arrest or anything, but they still put me under arrest. And they just held me hostage until they was able to extract a confession out of me, a coerced confession, and that's when they charged me with it. I haven't seen the outside world since then.
Yes. And this
They
again
have no
was
physical
when?
evidence. Yeah, they have no physical evidence against me, no eyewitnesses, no fingerprints, no anything besides a coerced confession.
And even in the confession, if I remember right, Mike, wasn't there a lot of inconsistencies?
Yes, it was. Like, for example, they said that I held the pillow over the victim's face, and they never found any pillows in at the crime scene or anything like that. There was one situation where they said that me and another individual went out the back door of the apartment, but when the police came, the door was locked from the inside, and there were some chairs that was pushed in front of the screen door. That was And so basically, my lawyer argued that if anyone would have left out the back door, the chairs would have been pushed away from the door, but they were pushed up against the door. And so that was pretty much indicative that no one went out that back door.
And then wasn't there where they said that you had broken in through the back window above the door, but there were steel bars?
A small square window over the top of the back door. In the statement, they said that I climbed through the transom window, and the forensic people never found any fingerprints or any clothing fibers, anything to indicate with anyone that went through that window.
Yeah. So basically, we know that the only thing that they have to, or had, in convicting you was a signed statement. We know that they held you for 36 hours. We do know that they originally said that they were charging you with only burglary, but then at your first, before the judge, is when you found out that they were actually charging you with 2 or aiding of 2 murders. Then at the arraignment, thank you. And then we know that, you know, there were several inconsistencies, but you had a jury trial, correct?
Yes, I did.
And one of the reasons that the jury found you guilty was because the judge would not allow us to bring in evidence that made or showed that the signed statement was inconsistent.
Correct. And also, the 2 detectives who physically abused me and played a major role in the coercion, my trial lawyer, Richard Kling, had discovered OPS files with other cases of individuals that got arrested before me that showed that it was a pattern and practice of physical abuse and coercion with other cases, and these guys had got out. And Judge Schreier wouldn't allow that in as evidence to cross-examine the police officers, because it would have showed that I wasn't the only one that ever made an accusation about the police coercing them.
Yes. So unfortunately, Mike, we know that your case, like others, is fabricated to make you guilty. And then information that we had that would have absolutely set you free was not allowed to be heard or was denied by the judge. And so here we are, 21 years later. You are still in prison. You've never gotten into any fights. You've never done anything that has even tarnished your name. And I know that because when I come down to visit you, guards will say that they know you and you have an incredible positive reputation. So since you've been locked up, Mike, what are some of the things that you have done?
Well, since I've been in Stateville, I took 2 correspondence courses. I took a paralegal / legal aid course from Blackstone Paralegal. I got my diploma in that. I passed with a B+ average. I've taken a basic accounting course through the mail from Ashworth College. I've taken various different college courses. I took 2 courses from DePaul University, which was accredited. I took a restorative justice course and masculinity and law and politics. Also taken 2 political theory classes through a program called PNAP, Prison Neighborhood Arts Program. I took a Latino American History and Richard Wright Writing and Prose class. Now I'm currently in a master's program at North Park Theological Seminary to get my master's degree in Masters in Christian Ministry / Restorative Arts. I just finished my first year. I should be starting my second year in September.
Yeah.
So I've been busy.
You've been very busy, positive busyness. And I know that Mike was and is a leader on our life learning dorm while he was still at Cook County Jail. you know, Mike was one of the top leaders. And that didn't just come from me, because you would say, well, of course, you know, Dana, you're biased. I am biased. But that
You have 1 minute left.
that came from everybody. But well, Mike, I know we're about to be done.
Uh-huh.
And what we're looking at is trying to raise some support to have a couple of things brought to the light. And I will share that once we hang up. But Mike, in the last few seconds, what would you like to say?
I just hope and pray that everyone receive my story for what it is, the truth, and I pray that they support me in some kind of way. Thank you. God bless you.
Hey, well, Mike, you know, I always look forward to, you know, talking to you. I'll be down there to see you on Thursday. And, you know, like we always end our conversations, remember that we love you out here, Mike.
All right. Love you.
Okay.
Gotta go.
All right, Mike.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
The caller has hung up.
So this was just kind of off the cuff, seriously. And I wanted you to hear Mike. We're at a point now where pretty much everything has been denied, and the only options we have left is to bring in information that is new, that could give us a new trial. So we're in Illinois. We're looking at trying to raise some money to have a videographer look at the original video. And we didn't get a chance to really share this, but in one of the first courtrooms, they brought the arresting officer up, and they watched the video because there was no a warrant for Mike's arrest. And so they brought this arresting officer up, and they showed the original video that went over the news media. And that was the basis that this officer said that caused him to have enough evidence, even without a warrant for Mike's arrest, to arrest him, probable cause, because he recognized him from the video. So they showed the video, and then they asked this officer in the courtroom to point out Michael Sanders. He walked over to his co-defendant. He was not even able to identify Mike in the courtroom. Well, that caused a whole lot of commotion, but the state's attorney said, you know, hey, we need more time. So what they ended up doing was they brought in another video into the chambers of the judge. And this video wasn't just of the ATM, but it was a video of this woman's life, her parents crying, and everything that she had done prior to her murder. Emotions. And due to those emotions, the judge and everybody said, yes, I believe that this officer had enough probable cause to arrest Michael Sanders, even though the day before in the courtroom, this officer could not even point out who Michael Sanders was. Over and over and over, that is what took place in Mike's case. And so we're looking at trying to get a videographer that could go back and reevaluate this video and be able to make a determination whether or not it was even physically possible for somebody to recognize Mike. Now, to clarify, Ronnie was using the ATM machine and the card. Mike was standing in the distance, really oblivious to what had all happened. And that is why they said they had the right to arrest him. We also know that the judge did not allow all kinds of information into the courtroom that would have proven that the written statement, which is the only evidence they have against Mike, to be thrown out. He wouldn't allow that information in. So the other option that we do have is now a a investigator that can look at these statements and can determine whether or not this statement is legitimate or not. They go by kind of how the inmate, or like Mike writes, how he talks. A statement is literally supposed to be word for word of the inmate or the person being charged, how they speak and how they speak out the crime. But when you look at this statement, you will see in many areas where things were lined out, and then Mike had to sign it, because when they started getting information in from those who were at the crime scene, there were things in his statement that did not line up. So they had to quickly go back and fix some of those things. However, there were several things they were not able to fix. But when we tried to bring that to the attention of in the courtroom, the judge denied us the opportunity. And therefore, Mike was ultimately, after I believe 7 or 8 years of fighting this case, he was found guilty and charged with life plus 60 years in prison. And he has now served 21 of those years. I wanted you to hear his voice, and I'm hoping to get him back on here again. This was kind of very last minute, so it wasn't very planned out or organized. He called me today and I said, Mike, can we do this? But I don't think you care about how professional it is, because I don't. I'm not here for you to rate our interview on how well it was brought forth, but to hear the heart of one of my best friends, that I am determined still after 21 years to do everything possible. But I know that without, the Most High Yah, nothing is going to happen. But if the Most High Yah touches your heart and you would like to work with us in getting Michael Sanders free, maybe you are a videographer that is a professional person that can look at this videotape and can determine whether or not it was possible for anybody to recognize the person that was standing way in the background. And you would be willing to donate your services. If you are somebody that looks at confessions and can donate your services, if you are a lawyer and you know somebody, or you yourself can help us out, please go to my webpage at www.onelovesociety.love. It's right here. Let me move this. It's right here. Please reach out to us. And I know this is very informal, but again, I don't do this to be recognized for my professionalism. I do this to be recognized that I have a love for the Most High Yah, and I have a love for His people. And Michael Sanders is one. He hasn't embraced it fully, because realize that in the prison system, a lot of the Hebrew camps are out there. But he said, Brother Dana, he says, I trust you. I trust you so much that I will, go and consider and talk to God about the things that you are sharing with me. So please get in contact with us. Any help that you may have could be a blessing to Mike. And until we talk again, thank you for listening in. Shalom.